All right, welcome back to Blue by 90. I'm Justin, joined by Tanner today. It is December 1st. I have no voice at all. And it has been how many days? How many days has it been since Ohio State beat Michigan?
It's at least been one day. I don't know it's 1700 and some days. I think it'll get to 2000 plus by next
It has
November.
officially been 1,828 days. Michigan goes into Columbus once again, beats Ryan Day and the Buckeyes. I have no idea how we won that football game. I have that we had no business winning, but I think Ryan Day just Ryan Day.
I mean, dude, I really don't understand. I was nervous after the touchdown drive that Ohio State put together because I was like, oh, they figured out that like Michigan's secondary is depleted and they have fantastic receivers and can just spread Michigan out and take advantage of that. And then they just continually ran into Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant, which was the one thing when we had our show last week. When I went on kind of my rant, I said that if Michigan has a chance to win this game, it's because Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, Josiah Stewart, Derek Moore, TJ Guy, Rayshon Benny came to play, and they did. But Ohio State, Ryan Day, and Chip Kelly played into Michigan's hand perfectly all game long. They had 250 yards of offense.
It was like I honestly God think they were trying to prove to themselves that they were tough for the 100th time. It was just a constant like, hey, we need to tell everybody that we're tough. We need to show to ourselves that we're tough. And they just kept running the ball up the middle, and we kept swallowing it up. And they never went away from it. And I don't understand because, to your point, in the one drive that they had right before halftime, it was dinks and dunks. They scored on Michigan so easy when they had to pass the ball in that 2-minute offense. And so it was insane. But the tough guy thing, have you ever seen somebody less tough than that team? And they have told themselves for how long that they are a tough football team.
Yeah, I mean, it starts at the top, right? Because Ryan Day would rather try to impose his will with an offensive line that has two plus starters out. I think there was a third starter out. I don't know they're starting five, but I know the center was out and the left tackle was out with McLaughlin and Simmons. So
Donovan Jackson, they talked about it on the broadcast. He was playing out of position, right?
Yeah.
You have a battered O-line, to your point.
Yeah, so they wanted to be tough, and it's so funny that this game, not as many points as the last few editions, but this game played out very similar to where at the end of the game, I know Michigan had the pick on first and goal, but Michigan on its last two offensive drives, they start at their own 20, they go down, they should have scored. Davis doesn't get enough air to that ball, and Sawyer makes a play on it. But then they get the ball back at the 40 and they go 60 yards and kick a field goal to win the game. And if you watch, Kalel Mullings is sunning dudes. Like, Jack Sawyer got bitched by Kalel Mullings on that long run. And then Caleb Downs got bitched by Kalel Mullings at the end of that run. And so it was just one of those things where what Ohio State wanted to do to show how tough they are, just like they did against Notre Dame last year, they wanted to be able to run the ball. They couldn't. But Michigan, on the other hand, wore Ohio State's defense down. That fourth quarter, Ohio State ran 7 plays? They went 3 and out and 4 and out to lose the game. Michigan was able to control the pace like we talked about. That was what Michigan had to do, and they were dominant in the fourth quarter on the ground game.
That is one thing that I think Sharon Moore, and you saw this as he was calling plays. I'm sure Jim Harbaugh's involved in this the last 3 years, right? But the last 3 years, Sharon Moore was phenomenal at just chewing clock and being so methodical about making your way down the field and getting 1 yard when he needed to, right? And yesterday, he did that with zero passing game. I love Davis Warren. He didn't do, we couldn't throw the ball, right? And so everybody and their brother knew we were going to just run right up the gut with Kalel 100 times. And we're sitting there like, I was like, dude, can we try like a different scheme at all in the run game because they were stopping it, right? But like to your point, especially in the second half, Hillel in this offensive line, which has been this offensive line has struggled all year long, but they nutted up for a fourth quarter. They nutted up for a second half. They nutted up for a full game and said, we're just going to do just enough, get 3 yards every single time. And then just dink and dunk. And then you never gave Ohio State a chance. You never gave them a chance.
And Ohio State didn't give themselves a chance. I still cannot believe that Michigan won that football game, but that's who they are. That is Ohio State's program under Ryan Day. They would rather try and look tough than just win the football game. I would rather just win. And it wasn't pretty. Yes, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't flashy. It was downright ugly at sometimes. But you know what? Sharon Moore knew that Ohio State would crumble. And we talked about this too. You get to the fourth quarter, what are they going to do? They're going to crumble. They were crumbling in the first half.
Yes,
Missed field goals, right?
Dude, the missed field goals, the pick from Will Howard, right? Like,
can we give a shout out to Amir Hall, by the way? Just had the interception last week against Northwestern. Comes up with maybe the biggest play in this game, one of them. Yeah. And almost houses it. Does a great job staying in bounds.
Also, after Michigan had just turned it over on the one, right? So in these types of games, Michigan turning the ball over and Ohio State stonewalling them, those are usually huge momentum swingers, right? Like that's where a team like Ohio State can break a game open when they do that. Usually it's, they go 99 yards, right? And score. But a huge play. Oh my God. Unbelievable.
The mental fortitude of this football team is just outstanding. I mean, you think about going, like we talked about earlier, going 80 yards. You're at the 2-yard line. You've got first and goal. Personally, I probably would have just pushed it with Alex Orji 4 times. But it was a good, he was wide open.
That was
wide open.
One, I want to give Kurt Campbell credit there because I thought that was a phenomenal play call, and it worked.
I also loved the double pass as well that set up in that drive earlier. But to Michigan's credit, that's a moment where, oh man, we turn it over. They get out from the shadow of their own end zone, so they're not. It's not like they're backed up like they were earlier. They're out at the 11-yard line, and what does Michigan do? They get a stop, and then they come back. And credit to Davis Warren because he did make some big time throws on third downs. He found Peyton O'Leary. What a great catch by Peyton. He found Marlon Klein over the middle multiple times. Found Tyler Morris.
I also want to just give Davis his props. Again, he struggled. There's no doubt, right? The turnovers were gigantic and could have lost Michigan this game, no doubt. But I want to give him props in the fact that he was very calm all day long. He looked like, that was one thing I was worried about. Davis Warren, who doesn't have a ton of experience, hasn't had a ton of success this year, going into the shoe against one of the best defenses in the nation, is he going to shit down his leg, right? Like that's what I was concerned about. He commanded this offense, stayed calm the entire time, stayed poised. So I want to give him just his credit there for sure.
Yeah, man. Well, again, he came back from the interceptions and, I don't know what he would look like with a good receiving core,
without Colston Loveland, dude. We haven't even talked about that. You have literally 0 weapons on offense other than Kalel Mullings just running it up the gut because Donovan then goes out too.
Yeah. Donovan's out. It was just tough sledding all day, but we talked about it, and it wasn't that. It wasn't a Tim Biaka-Patuka performance from Kalel, but it was in the fourth quarter. Michigan outgained Ohio State like 110 yards to 10 in the fourth quarter. Just pure dominance.
1 yard on that last drive. They literally got 1 yard when everything was on the line.
That last drive. All right, so let's start with the last drive. What are you gonna do? Let's talk about the defense. But I want to talk about that last drive and just how comical it was. They couldn't throw the ball downfield.
It was crazy.
They had one completion and a dump off to Trevion Henderson, and that was it. The defense was phenomenal. The defensive line was dominant. In that fourth quarter, they were getting pressure. Every single play, they were getting pressure. Or if Ohio State was running it, they got 1 or 2 yards. It was just pure dominance from Michigan's defense. And we've been very critical of Wink Martindale. Hell of a performance from him. That's a legendary performance in the game, right? That's how you earn your money. Because this season wasn't fun. Now it's fun because Michigan beats Ohio State. Yeah, you're 7-5. Yeah, it shoulda, coulda, woulda. You probably would have made the playoffs if you have a couple things go your way. It is what it is. But that performance from that defense without Will Johnson, without Rod Moore all season long, obviously. The guys that are, think about this, Justin. On one side at corner, you've got Jair Hill wearing number 35 because he got in trouble. And on the other side, you've got Amir Hall, who transferred from the University of Albany. And you lock down Ohio State. Jeremiah Smith doesn't do anything except OPI his way to a touchdown. Complete bullshit, by the way. Totally. That's it. That was it. The only way they were able to score the football was because they had missed calls. Jeremiah Smith grabbed Quentin Johnson's face mask and got called for DPI. He runs into Jair Hill because the ball's underthrown. I'm not sure how that's DPI. And then he pushes Zeke Berry out of the way. I'm like, what are we looking at here? That's how they scored 10 points. Otherwise, Michigan was completely shut them down.
And I don't understand why Ryan Day didn't try to go back to them, because that was working in their first drive of the game. The passing game was working, right? And then obviously what you just said, like whether it was DPI, OPI, whatever, it worked for them. They scored points, right? So I don't know why they didn't go back to it, but to your point, this defense in Wink Martindale, they earned their money yesterday. It was unbelievable. I've never seen this. Tanner, this offense, this Ohio State offense was averaging like 5 touchdowns a game. They scored 10 points at home in the biggest game of the year. Oh my God. Unbelievable.
Can I just start reading off some funny tweets? And I'll just intermediately, just kind of go. So the one thing I will say, though, Justin, is because Ryan Day has a Napoleon complex. And so he has to compensate in his head to show how tough his football team and program is, that he forgets. Just look at your recruiting classes. It's 5 wide receivers every single year. That's where your talent is accumulated.
We know that this game is won in the trenches. We know that.
We know. We're just guys. He doesn't know. He doesn't have any idea. And, the 5 stars that he got in the 2021 class, JTT, Jack Sawyer, they're going to leave 0-4 against Michigan. But I want to just shout out some of my bookmarks that I've got that I'm very glad I get to use. Iron_Brutus on April 20th. This must have been the spring game. Said, I've seen enough. Ohio State by 100 in November. Still not at that 100-point mark, by the way, is Ryan Day. Yeah. So I can't wait for Michigan. This is an anonymous Buckeyes fan. I can't wait for Michigan to play us this year and get under 200 yards of offense. They may not even get to 175. We got to 234. Ohio State got to 252. But unfortunately for Ohio State, total yardage, it's all about the points on the scoreboard. It doesn't matter.
I mean, shout out to that guy because he wasn't that far off, but somehow that was the case and you still couldn't win the game. So, yeah.
Yep. FF Buck CLE must be a Cleveland sports fan too. That's tough. 0.01% chance Michigan wins in Columbus this year.
I mean, that also, I got to give him his props because that was probably an accurate percentage and we still pulled it off. And I still don't know how we did it.
I can tell you how we did it. This is a great segue here to the Scarlet and Gray podcast tweet on August 15th. Still can't believe that Chip Kelly is our offensive coordinator. Brother, neither can I. I feel like I should have been more vocal about this. I don't think Chip Kelly is good at all. Like, I had people talking about, Justin, I get fights on different various social media websites to the game forward, and I like to troll. But I was on a YouTube, I don't even remember what it was. And the guy was like, oh, yeah, I mean, he just didn't have his players at UCLA. And I was like, brother, he was there for 6 fucking years. Yeah. He built the roster. So then he comes in, he's married to Will Howard. He doesn't utilize Will Howard in the run game at all. I don't know if that's because he was concussed. He probably was concussed off his ass.
Man. He got smoked by McCarry.
Great shout out.
McCarry.
People have been on Macari.
I know.
And I've talked about this year on different shows that we've done that I appreciate what he did over the last 2 or 3 years. That might have been his best game as a Wolverine.
Yeah,
he was flat out dominant. He saved at least 3 points on the interception, which Gus Johnson somehow didn't know was an interception. Gus and Joel were fucking pathetic yesterday.
The broadcast was bad. It was really
brutal. Not even just the announcers, which were bad in their own right, but also just the presentation. Like,
Correct.
A play would end, and then they would just show, like, the sideline. I'm like, I want to see the field. I don't need to see Ryan Day with his play sheet.
Right. It was bad. It was bad. All right. I do want to, you mentioned it, but again, we're all over the place. I'm like, just
don't care
to wrap our brains on how the fuck we won this football game. But I want to go through their drives in the second half. So they come out 10 plays, 50 yards, 4 minutes and 50 seconds, punt, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was huge for Michigan to come out and get a stop there.
What was Trevian Henderson doing, real quick, Justin, on that kick return?
I don't know.
Then, like, by the way, going back to this, Gus Johnson just, like, glossed over it. Like, just didn't say anything. Like, what? It was a horrible mistake. You lost 20 yards of field position.
At least, yes. So then their next drive, 7 plays, 31 yards, 3.5 minutes, interception. The next one, 4 plays, 0 yards, 2 minutes, missed field goal. The next one, 3 plays, 9 yards, 1.5 minutes, punt. The next one, 4 plays, 1 yard, 22 seconds, downs. Like, I mean, they did 0. They couldn't move the ball. They couldn't keep the ball in their hands. And then we just chewed the shit out of the clock. Like, oh my God, it was that. I feel like I honestly think Sharon Moore he was able to get his guys up for this game. It was very, like, I don't know if this is a good thing to say, very Brady Hoke-esque.
I was just thinking that.
And the fact that, like, obviously Brady had his struggles. We all know that, right? But he got his guys up for the game. And so I just think Sharon was able, you saw it, that Michigan was prepared for this game. Ohio State was not mentally, physically prepared for this game. They kept trying to come up with shit, but they couldn't. And so it is just, I watched Jack Sawyer trying to talk shit before the game, right? I'm watching them do their charades. And then I'm just realizing also, like, you're watching things on the sideline. Sharon Moore knew what the hell was going on the whole time. He had a game plan. They stuck to it. Ryan Day just looks lost, man. When things don't go their way, he does not have a way to come back from that. And so you watched the realization from this team, this Ohio State team and the fan base, you watch them lose their hope, they all of a sudden were like, they don't think that they can win this game. And that was not at the end of the game. That was midway through the second half. Also, speaking on that, the booing of their own crowd in the first half, when they just kept running the ball up the gut, was, I mean, that was unbelievable.
Yeah, I think once Michigan hung around and, like, it wasn't going to be a blowout, I would have loved to have been there for a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons would have been to just feel the tension and the anxiety in that crowd, because you were there at 22. I think it was kind of the same thing where it's like, oh shit, this is happening again. But that was the number 3 team in the country, 11-0 Michigan, that had come in there and done that. That's, hey, right? You lose a football game. This one, I mean, yeah. Well, I retweeted a post yesterday before the game because you talk about Jack Sawyer before the game. Those guys are such front runners. They never did that in 21 or 22 or 23. But now that Michigan's 6-5 coming in and, we're going to beat the shit out of them. Now you want to do that? No, you're soft. That's the mentality difference between the programs. You're soft. Michigan didn't react to it. They just kept it moving. And you got Jack Sawyer over there. And let's talk about Jack Sawyer after the game, Justin. There's a lot of fireworks on the field.
I mean, he props to him. He had, some energy left, apparently.
Yeah, no, I was really happy that he was able to prevent Michigan from planting the flag at midfield again.
If I was him, though, I personally would just beat Michigan.
Yeah, I would have. But yeah, if you don't want to have a flag planted, by the way, this happened like 4 times yesterday.
It did.
It was crazy.
UNC, right?
Florida State. I think there was an Arizona scuffle. I don't know if it was a flag.
Yeah, but Michigan's the common denominator, dude.
Yeah,
it's a Michigan problem.
Yes, especially because Ohio State ran from their side of the field to come and fight, which was funny too. You know who was in the scrum? I don't think he was doing anything nefarious. Is our boy Joey Velasquez. What are you doing? Really? What are you doing? Why did you transfer there? Man. You didn't win a single edition of the game. You played for both programs.
That's crazy.
That's like, why did you do that? And now you're not, now you're not going to be, well, I guess you want to miss it, but you lost to Ohio State. What are you doing? Why did you do that? I don't get it.
Also, shout out to Jason Avant. What a guy. Just getting the flag back. I mean,
everyone kept calling him a manager, and I'm like, that guy played in the NFL for a number of years.
That guy's like one of our best receivers in the history of the program. But yeah, unbelievable. The after the game stuff, to be honest, I wish it didn't happen, right? Like
I'm with you. It takes away from the game.
I'm all for planting the flag, but I wish you just plant the flag and then, get off the field, right? Like listen, I get it. You're going to celebrate, right? That's what you do. I think Ohio State, again, I'd say this, you got to win. When you lose, that's what happens.
You don't get to dictate what happens when you lose. To the victors go the spoils, right?
Correct.
The winners write the history books. That's not even football. That's just been that way since we've been a species. Correct. If you win, you're going to talk your shit. If you lose, you got to suck it up. You can't come out after the fact and be all pissy about the flag. I don't get it. And then the difference, again, in the cultures, you know who's in the middle of this thing trying to get his guys away? Sharon Moore. You know what Ryan Day's doing?
He's literally
just standing there. He's got a 1,000-yard stare. Just
the video of Jack Sawyer like going AWOL and some assistant coach or somebody's trying to hold him back. Ryan Day is sitting there. That's your senior leader captain. Should be like your boy, right? And Ryan Day just sits on the sideline while his guy is trying to protect their field. So like, if I was going to give Jack Sawyer credit for something, it's like, hey, I'm a Buckeye. I'm not going to let, the Michigan flag be planted at midfield, right? Like, I'll at least like give you credit for feeling that way. But Ryan Day is just sitting there like, I know you don't want to get in the scuffle if you're the head coach, obviously, but like, I mean, I don't know. So this leads me to my next question for you. Like, what are they going to do with it?
They're going to make the playoffs. So
I know, but like, and they still have a chance to win a national title. But like, dude, 0-4 is crazy, especially, again, to your point, like losing to 21, 22, and 23 Michigan teams I'm not going to say it's acceptable, but it's understandable. Those are really good Michigan teams. Losing to this Michigan team with zero offense and a quarterback that threw for like 40 yards is so unacceptable, right? So he's got a $37 million buyout. He's lost only, 5 Big Ten games in 5 years or whatever it is. 4 of them are to Michigan. So what do you do?
I'm really upset with Oregon for ruining that stat.
I know.
I was thankful at the time for them beating Ohio State. I'm being facetious here. I don't know what you do. I mean, because if you cut, like, are you just gonna roll with him again next year? Like, all the Ohio State fans are gonna be pissy.
Well, what are they gonna do? They're gonna go get another transfer quarterback, or do they go with like whatever?
They'll probably go with
Saying, yeah, whatever it is. Nolan's probably gonna transfer, right?
But they're gonna have to make a lot of moves in the portal.
I mean,
they lose a ton of production.
So my point being, like, they're going to build this essentially the same roster that they had this year, right? And then, like, roll with the same coach, and Jim Knowles still there. They're going to run it back with Chip Kelly. Like,
well, Jim Knowles is not the problem. Their defense is phenomenal.
their defense is good, but
It's really good.
how could they not just? I mean, how could they not stop Kalel Mullings? Kalel is just
Because you went through the drives. Because Michigan had a 9-minute drive, and then Ohio State was on the field for 1:30, and then Michigan had 6-minute drive.
Which is so funny because this is exactly it. I thought the opposite was going to happen, right? Where Michigan's defense is just on the field forever and ever, and that's how they wear us down, and they finally break through. And we did that to them.
Yeah, they play complementary football and very well. Michigan did, I thought.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was because the defense could just get off the field in 3 plays. And so Chip Kelly and Ryan Day played into Michigan's hand with that. But yeah, I mean, that was one of the bigger problems this year is that the defense was just gassed all the time.
Unbelievable for them, you're saying. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
And I just want to give another shout out to Kalel because speaking of gassed, the dude had to be just like torn out.
Well, he was in the tent after his touchdown. His ankle got twisted up.
He went to the press conference, like not even the press conference, the on-field interview in a booth. 5 minutes before that, he was winning the game for Michigan.
Yeah,
insane.
Kalel Mullings has been unbelievable this year, and it's a shame that he did not get as many carries as I think he should have gotten. But can I just share this legendary quote that I think is going to go down in Michigan lore forever? Kalel Mullings in the postgame interview said, and I quote, "Some people got to learn how to lose. You can't be fighting just because you lost a game." That's just poetry.
I love it. And that they hated to hear that, right? But wanted to ask you too. So if I'm not mistaken, it's 21, 22, 23, and 24. All our wins. 4. Okay, so 4. Which one is your favorite? Just rank them from 1 to 4.
I only have one child, but I imagine
this is like ranking your children.
Oh man, I'm gonna go 21. Well, I don't know because you just keep beating them, and it's like it gets less and less like dopamine. You're like, I'm just used to this. So as far as like feeling after the game, 21 is first. I mean, you're up the streak, and then it's tough. If we were ranking this by just like comedic value, this is number 1.
I agree, dude.
But 21, 23, 22, 24, because this one is sweet, but it's got like a different feel because we're done. We're not going to Indy. We're not getting ready for an epic tailgate in Indian Ocean.
To your point, it makes it sweeter because of that in a weird way, right? But it is, obviously you want to win the Big Ten championship and the national championship. I agree with you. I think it actually is in order: 21, 22, 23, and then 24. I was talking about this to a friend this morning, though. 22 is up there with 21 for me. Like
when Donovan broke that first touchdown, my hat went up like Bobby Shmurda. I flung that bitch.
I mean, obviously I was there, so that made it like 100 times sweeter. And let me tell you, and I had a couple friends that were there yesterday that told like just being there in winning is a feeling like no other feeling. Watching everything just drain from their bodies because listen, they care so much about this game, so much. And watching them leave in dead silence is like, you'll never experience anything like that.
I feel like this game compared to 22 was probably from that perspective more enjoyable because in the 22 game, Michigan is dominant in the second half and it gives them an opportunity to kind of accept what's happening, right? Yes. Like it's okay, Donovan again. Oh shit. Oh, so you have like a longer period of time where it's like coming to terms with the fact that you're getting smoked by Michigan. This one, they're there till the last minute, right?
Right.
And even when they're down 3, I was pretty confident in that last defensive drive. I was like, there's no way they're doing anything with no timeouts.
I know, but I also, like just holding your breath until
Yeah, just like a 17-13. You're just like, I'm gonna do anything else.
literally anything else, right? Like so and just knowing how they scored right before half was literally like a minute and a half drive. Right?
Same.
And did it so easily. So, but obviously in that second half, they hadn't done. I mean, literally, they couldn't throw the ball down. They didn't move 1 inch.
Was that because Will Howard was just concussed?
I don't know. It was insane.
Because that, again, to your point, that touchdown drive was like, oh God. You're like, oh, here they are. You were nervous if you're a Michigan fan. I was scared shitless. I was like,
that was what that I agree. That was the point where I thought like, oh fuck, they figured it out.
This is where they flip the switch and it's over.
And it's like right before half, right? And then they come out, they were going to get the ball in the second half. And I thought that they were just going to like score right away. And then they break it open. But Michigan making that stop right out of halftime was so key in this football game.
Can we talk about, Justin? Because this is, we're over talking about it, but when it's a chance for me to dunk on Ohio State fans, I'll bring it back up.
Yes.
Are we done with the signs bullshit now? Are we over it? Because this is the least amount of points that Ohio State has scored in this game since 1996.
You want to know what's funny is our boy Dre was watching it with Stallions too.
That's incredible.
He was watching the game with Stallions.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it wasn't the signs, guys. It was the physicality. It was the playmakers on offense the last 3 years. It was the difference in mentality and mindset between the two programs. It was not the signs. Because it looked like Michigan had Ohio State signs because you and I could have seen, oh, shit, they're going to run the ball up the middle here. Oh, no, there goes Quinshon Judkins for 1 yard. By the way, someone tweeted this, and I remember this. Do you remember Quinshon Judkins when he committed to Ohio State out of the portal? Do you remember when he did that?
When? It was literally like the moment of the natty, right?
Yes, yeah. And then he went for 3.6 yards per carry for like 36 yards or something crazy like that. So
they talked for 11 months about how Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins were just going to run all over us, right? It was going to be the greatest.
I don't remember them doing that thing.
I mean, that was how we won the game, was just bottling up the run.
Yeah, I don't remember ever being like, oh, God, there goes. I think Judkins had one nice run. Yeah, and he was talking shit. He was flexing.
Yes.
You should have said Ole Miss. You might have had more success there.
Dude.
Oh, like there's a lot of trash talk about Donovan Edwards and Clem Lewis. We talked about this, remember, after the Oregon game? And they went, you know what? And they went for, 77 yards yesterday? What did Clem do? Clem went for over 100 with a touchdown.
Yeah. Yeah, 136 or something like that. 116, 32 carries for 116. I just want to read off again. I love Davis Warren with all my heart. I texted him last night, told him that I loved him, and told him congrats. He responded back with, "You like that?"
But the way he tweeted, like the way it was texted, it was the letter U.
Yeah.
Like that question mark. It was just very funny.
So good. So good. And then so this is not a shot at Davis, but I'm going to read his stat line. Michigan won this football game.
He's a foxhole guy. You got to remember
He's a foxhole guy. Yes. 9 out of 16, 62 yards, 3.9 average. That is not a rushing average, Tanner. 3.9 yards per pass.
Yep.
0 touchdowns, 2 pick, a QBR of 36. I love you, Davis, and you did win us that game. At the end of the day, you are 4-0 versus Ohio State. This is a shot at Ohio State. How the fuck did you let us win that football game? How did you let us win that football game? That is the most embarrassing shit that I've ever seen in my entire life. If I was an Ohio State fan, I'd want Ryan Day fired today. Literally. It's unacceptable. It is unacceptable for them to lose that football game. The way that Michigan did, I don't know how they did it.
I personally want Ryan Day to stay there forever. At what point do you guys start kind of seeing through the facade of like, I'm not going there. Why would I go there?
Okay, well, I had a take this morning that it's now extended that nobody in that building has beaten Ohio State,
Yes.
right? Like, there are
Well, maybe
players,
no players. Yeah.
no players have beaten Ohio State. And I think that when, this was our problem back in 16 and 18 and whatever, like, you forget what it feels like to win that football game. And so then I think that, like, you can just tell from, you can see it on their faces. They don't believe that they can beat Michigan. They really do not believe. And so, to your point, like, what's he going to say in the offseason to any portal kid that's trying to come, or any recruit? It's got to wear off, right? Like,
What hardware do they have to show off?
they have nothing, zero gold.
They have something from a COVID year. They won a playoff game during the COVID year in the Big Ten championship. Okay,
Oh my God.
what have you done? What have you done post COVID?
They have that Rose Bowl against Utah. That was a consolation.
Yeah. Oh yeah. When JSN went for like 300 yards on a running back playing corner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I just keep doing this where I read more tweets from my book?
Yes, please.
Okay, perfect. Ohio State addict. Sorry for that guy. I'm not worried about Underwood to Michigan in the slightest. Sharon Moore is their head coach. He won't be developed. I don't think that has anything to do with Michigan beating Ohio State, but I just thought it was funny. To Gabe Hoyer and to the Michigan fans whining about Ohio State's classless, in quotes, late score against Indiana, we're going to do the exact same thing to you guys next week if given the chance, so buckle up. Shout out to Gabe. He made sure to throw the word if in there. That was a big qualifier. Gabe, spoiler alert, you didn't have the chance to. You had a chance to go down and try to win the game at the end, but you got 1 yard on 4 downs, and Michigan won the game.
Well, technically, they had lots of chances to win the game, and they didn't take advantage of basically any of them.
I want to give a shout out real quick. The Bunch of Nuts podcast. Man, that's a name. Shout out to those guys. They should start doing some merch. I would rather see Ryan Day hang 100 on Michigan than win a natty this season. Guess what? Okay. You get neither. You get none.
Well, I have a sicko take for you.
Okay.
Bear with me here. I kind of want them to win the natty.
No,
here's why.
No,
here's
absolutely
why.
not.
I know. Here's why. This is okay. I don't actually believe this, but this is my sicko take in the back of my head that I had a thought of. They win the natty this year, it'll be a tainted natty because.
Oh yeah, you put an asterisk by that thing
because they lost to 7-5 Michigan by scoring 10 points at home, and so every time that they talk about the 20, this is my thought process. Let's say Ohio State wins the natty. Every time they talk about this national championship, they're always in the back of their mind thinking, "But we lost to fucking Michigan."
When they buy the national championship pint glass and it's got all the scores on it.
Yes, exactly.
Which I have the 2021 version of that for Michigan. There's the loss to Michigan State on it, and like, Connor, our boy Connor Muldowney roasted me, and I was like, "Hey man, I don't give a shit." Yeah. It's a little bit different in this game. But I want to keep giving some shout outs to some folks on Twitter. I got Woody vs. World. Okay. He says, picture this, Justin, just imagine, if you will.
Okay.
The Buckeyes are leading 42-3 late in the fourth quarter. Judkins punches it in for another touchdown, extending the lead to 48-3. Naturally, you'd expect the field goal unit to jog onto the field. But no, Ryan Day sends the offense back out to go for 2. The conversion is good. 50-3 Ohio State. Balance is restored. Brother, I don't know. I don't know if you're a grown man. You may be a woman. I don't know. I'm just not in the world of writing fan fiction about my football teams. It's just weird to me.
That was well written. I'll give it to him. Very well written.
There's some good comma usage. There was a nice dash in there. It was well written. APA format.
As Nelly said in a song, it was only just a dream. So
I got 2 more. What? Oh, sorry. I got 2 more that I just got to get out there. Our boy Ohio State. Hold this L. Hold the L. Actually, I just have one from him. So it was a tweet from the Wolverine on 3, the Fort. Michigan defensive coordinator Wink Martindale has wrinkles for Ohio State. We have a big library to pull from. And he quoted it and said, "My 6 and 5 brother in Christ, I don't care if you have the Library of Congress to pull from. Ohio State is grilling up a 50 burger for your fat ass on Saturday." You got to 10. You got double digits, Tate.
Well, only 40 away.
Yeah.
Only
I mean, this
40
is the
away.
same guy that thought, was it Clase from the Guardians?
Yeah.
Was going to win the Cy Young over Tarek Skubal. This didn't happen, bro.
I mean,
So
50. I'm trying to think. Oh, Quinshon Judkins at 46 yards, so he didn't get to 50 either. I'm trying to think of 50 burgers. Cardinal Tate at 58 yards receiving.
That's
Luke at
huge.
51.
It's huge for those guys.
I mean, sorry, I'm just going through these receiving yards. Jeremiah Smith, let's make no mistake, he is the best receiver in the nation. I think. I honestly put him over Ryan Williams. 5 catches for 35 yards.
10 of those came on an OPI. Like, what are we doing? He just shoved Zeke Berry to the ground, and they're just like, sure. And then, Gus and Joel were pathetic yesterday.
Yeah, it was bad.
What was the deal? They were awful.
They were all over the place. They were like, did you catch that? I think they were talking about Cardell Tate.
Yeah.
He said he was going to own an NFL
It was
team.
very weird. Like, and then when they were talking about, and this is a serious subject, when they were talking about Carnell Tate losing his mother,
Right.
before,
Which
so
is
it's very weird. Yes, it's awful, and you hate to see things like that, and it's awful. And this has nothing to do with Carnell Tate or his mother. But Gus, like, I hate that, and it's not just Gus, but it's sportscasters and ESPN, not the draft and stuff. But it's like, well, his mother died, but he's been a good football player. Like, what are we doing? Why are you bringing this up? It's weird, man. It's insensitive. It's weird. And then, I mean, talking about, he's gonna major in sports administration with a minor in finance. That's awesome. Good for him. That's a good combo. And I don't understand. Like, I've never heard an announcer talk about he's gonna own an NFL team after playing in the what are you doing? He was all over the place yesterday.
It was
like he's worse than us being all over the place, and we're just a couple of guys that do a podcast, 2 times a week. Like the Makari Page interception. Had no idea that it was picked off. I saw it on the TV. He talked about a throw over the middle. It was at the sideline. He talked about, remember Michigan's first drive? He's like, yeah, he was short of the line of scrimmage.
Yes.
And then, I didn't think Joel was much better personally. And then yesterday, or maybe it's yesterday or this morning on Twitter, Joel posted his rankings. And somebody tweeted at him, was like, having Alabama over South Carolina is ridiculous. And Joel was like, Alabama literally beat South Carolina. And then they were like, but you have Tennessee over Georgia. So just a rough time over at the Fox. How about Charles Woodson and Desmond Howard? The only two. And they were called madmen. Trolling them.
Urban was talking shit. I mean,
did you see the picture of Urban after the game? It was glorious.
Well, here's my other hot take on Urban. I think he loves this because it makes him more of a god.
Why do you think he said it was the most talented Ohio State team he's ever seen? His ego can't handle somebody else doing something at Ohio State.
Correct.
I'm sure he loves seeing Florida be bad.
Correct.
Because he's an egomaniac. He's a terrible human being. And the Ohio State fans that are like, bring back Urban. Bro, what parent in their right fucking mind is sending their son
to go play for
after what happened at the end of his tenure at Ohio State, what happened with the Jacksonville Jaguars, is sending their son to play for Urban Meyer?
It's not going to happen. So that's a fairy tale as well. He's not coming back to.
That's fan fiction. Well, he almost went to Michigan State last year, so people forget that.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Michigan State, what a week after that. What a week.
Yeah, tough.
Had a chance at home against Rutgers
in the snow, in the
snow to go to a bowl game, and you get the doors beaten off you.
Yeah, it was.
People aren't talking about that enough.
Can I tell you, Justin, the greatest football day of the year is when Michigan beats Ohio State. And it's just silence. There's just nobody saying anything to you other than just congratulatory type of things. And then you just watch college football and you just get to watch other teams. You see your highlights pop on. I got the quad box on YouTube TV. Just glorious yesterday. Watching all those games.
It was very. It is winning. Winning is very fun. I'll say that.
That's true.
I have enjoyed it over the years. And going on social media, being a fan, so much better when you win. We never even talked about the missed field goals,
So,
dude.
so
How are they-
invested in the portal.
I mean, Dominic Zavada, fucking god, but like, how are they missing those? I mean, they were just not prepared to win that football game.
Nope. Nope. They I don't know what they did. Maybe they spent too much time preparing for their speeches, their rah-rah speeches they do the morning of the game. I don't know, man. I really don't know. I don't know what excuses Ryan Day is going to come up with this time. I'm looking forward to them. I'm going to be curious to see what did Michigan do this time to win the game. That was, there was no integrity.
You want to know actually something that I saw this morning in Ryan Day's presser. They asked him about the too many men on the field after the timeout, which was a complete botch job by them, like coaching malpractice, and actually probably, well, it helped them lose the game, right? Because it took time off the clock. He actually said, somebody asked him like what happened there. He said that they panicked. He said we didn't have enough time to get our right guys on the field and we panicked.
He said it was loud.
He literally, it's his own fucking crowd.
I don't know what the context was. I just think it's funny. He mentioned how windy it was. He's like, yeah, it was windy. Yeah, no shit, dude.
Yeah, they can't brave the elements. They're just not built. I mean, for a tough team, we're a tough team. They're not tough.
It's always been Ohio against the world. By the way, which is just so lame. It's Detroit versus everybody. Otherwise, I don't care for what you have to say about your slogan. You're just copying Michigan yet again.
Again, always. They want to be us so bad.
Like they wanted to do man ball because Michigan beat the shit out of them by running the football the last 3 years. And so they're like, well, we'll go get Chip Kelly and we'll do a power spread again. You don't have the guys to do it.
No.
I remember I asked this in the offseason. And look, I know Michigan didn't perform to where we thought they would be. But Ohio State, I asked, are those offensive linemen who came there to pass pro, are they going to be able to block in Chip Kelly's scheme? The answer was no, at least against Michigan. Against all the other dog shit teams they played, yeah. But against Michigan, absolutely not.
I mean, KG and Mason handled those boys.
Rayshawn balled out. All the defensive linemen were good.
Also, Ernest Hausman was flying around yesterday.
Our boy Ernie was a dog.
He was a dog.
He was
shit,
man. Yeah, I love it. Moorham was a stud too. Like he was getting pressure. Cameron Brandt was getting pressure. I wish he would have got that sack. He kind of just ran through Will Howard on that third down.
KG got held 100 times.
Yeah. The Ohio State. What was the only penalty they had was the 12 men on the field, and then the pass interference on the double pass.
Yeah,
the reverse pass with shout out Kendrick Bell. That was a great throw.
And also Tyler Morris almost caught it.
Yeah, he was getting manhandled on that one. What else was I going to talk about? I can't. There's so many things to talk about here, Justin. I could go for another hour.
My brain is fried because I still can't comprehend how we won this football game. Like I'm trying to put the pieces together. I'm trying to put the words together for these people, and I can't because I just don't know how we won. I was like going through the stat sheet. I was like, okay, what but nothing makes sense. And I think that's got to hurt Ohio State fans so badly that like none of this makes sense. We really our defense was by far the better team yesterday, right? But like to win with what we had, with Will Johnson out, with Colston Loveland out, is, the most unbelievable thing ever. It is, Sherrod Moore, I love you. Wink, you just earned your job for next year, 100%. Kirk, you know what? When he needed a good play call, he made a good play call. It wasn't unbelievable, obviously, a game plan. There were times where I was like, okay, inside zone again, holy shit, like let's do something else. But yeah, either way, shout out to the boys. This podcast was completely all over the place, and I'm trying to put the pieces together, and doesn't make sense, but we
Doesn't need to.
absolutely take a win.
Right. It doesn't need to make sense. That's what, remember we talked about, I've seen crazy. This is not the craziest thing I've ever seen. I've seen much crazier things happen in college football. For example, on Friday night, I watched Georgia and Georgia Tech go to 8 overtimes and nobody could score the damn ball with 2-pointers. So, it's college football, man. Things happen and they're college kids at the end of the day. Like there's a lot of them that are, built a little bit differently that are going to be first round picks, but a lot of them, like they're college kids. They got finals and shit, like they have stuff they have to do. So, it's college sports. That's what makes it great. And you never know what's going to happen in these types of games, in these types of situations. So I just will say this, Justin. I was not looking forward to this game. I was excited to watch our boys go and fight. And if Michigan ended up losing that game in a fashion similar to Ohio State, the way they fought, have been, you know what, hey, it stinks, but I'm proud of these guys. They went out and they fought their ass off and they pulled out a win. But I will say this. It's just going to make this offseason so much sweeter. It was a rough year on the field, 5 losses. That's 2 more than they had over the previous 3 seasons combined. Right. But now we're going into portal season. We got Bryce Underwood in the fold. I mean, it's been a good couple of weeks for us.
The last 10 days literally changed everything. They
had a chance to kind of, we still had Bryce coming regardless, but had a chance to squash a lot of momentum. Now Michigan, our boy Bryce Marich tweeted, Michigan football recruiting had the stock going up. There's a difference between the two, the stock going up and the stock going down on those emojis, but he used the stock going up. So, I'll be curious to see who kind of is like, whoa, okay. Like that, come on. That's a dominant performance from Michigan.
Well, and to your point, if you're looking at both programs, Ohio State or Michigan, it's pretty obvious right now where you're going, right? Because you're going to go play with the number 1 quarterback in the country. You have actual toughness, not fabricated toughness.
You don't got to talk about it.
You don't have to talk about it because you live it, right? You haven't lost to your rival in a long time. Haven't lost to Michigan State, haven't lost to Penn State, haven't lost to Ohio State in a really long time, over 1,000 days. And just things are looking up. And we've got actual NIL, right? Like we're rolling in dough. And so the future is very, very bright. I have no idea what bowl we're going to go to. And frankly, I don't really care.
Yeah, that was our bowl game.
Yeah.
That was our Super Bowl for the show.
You know what? I'll end it with this too. So obviously the future is very bright. Going back to this game one more time, I think I just realized unless Kalel Mullings finds his way onto an NFL team, I think that Michigan just beat Ohio State with 0 NFL level guys on offense.
And that's 4 years in a row.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Keep that clock going. I know Ohio State, whoever the Ohio State fan that runs their clock website, I know he was getting ready to put in the code to do, one day. Nah, bitch, that site is down for another 365.
Oh,
and the Michigan clock is up.
Unbelievable.
Dude, we're 90s babies, right? Like, we didn't get to experience the 90s. We came into football consciousness in the 2000s. My first ever Michigan-Ohio State game was 2003 that I remember. I don't remember 02 or 01 or 2000. I remember 2003. I remember Braylon Edwards and Chris Perry and John Navarre and Marlon Jackson and these guys that were just studs. And I was like, oh, okay, this is what Michigan-Ohio State's about. This is Michigan wins. Yeah. Up through the next 18 years, I had seen one win. 2011. Against the Ohio State team that finished 6-7, had Luke Fickell as an interim coach right after the Jim Tressel stuff before they hired Urban Meyer. I went another 10 years. And I know you did too. Like, this is, we went through went through the same shit. So 4 in a row means something.
Means a lot. And I don't think 4 in a row has happened since like 88 to 91 or something like that.
Before we were born.
Literally before we were born. So we've actually never seen this.
This is incredible. I would prefer to keep it going.
Guess what? I've enjoyed it.
You know what the best part about winning a rivalry game on the road is?
What?
They gotta come back here next year.
They gotta come back.
They gotta come to Ann Arbor next November. We're gonna be rocking. We're gonna be loaded. We might be loaded.
We are gonna be loaded. I think they're shitting down their pants because like this was the chance.
Yes,
Right?
to right the course. Yep.
Correct, because before Bryce gets here, before Michigan's gets an offense back, right? Pretty incredible that Michigan was able to pull this out. So, all right, I can barely talk anymore at all. So I apologize for anybody who's been listening to my ass voice here. But ooh, W.
4-0, baby.
I don't know how we did it, but we'll fucking take it all day.
We'll take it. We'll talk our shit.
We'll talk our shit. Absolutely. All right. For us, you can follow us at Blue by 90 on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Blue by 90 Podcast on YouTube, and blueby90.com. We appreciate you. Go Blue. Fuck Ohio.
Go Blue.